It's really great to be with all of you this morning. I thank Dan for the invitation to come and cover while he's on a much-needed holiday. It's really great to be here. Today's gospel reading is yet another account of Jesus healing the unwell. And there are so many, aren't they? I mean, even in the reading this morning, it was first Simon's mother-in-law, and then he goes on and casts out many demons and heals many sick. He's from casting out demons and then raising the dead and getting the lame to walk and the blind to see, to the woman with the bleeding disorder who only had to touch the hem of his robe to be healed. This week, it's a fever. Simon's mother-in-law is bedridden with a fever. Now, we're not told if this was a life-threatening fever or not, but without a good dose of antibiotics, I'm sure the future wasn't a pretty one for her. Jesus hears from the disciples that Simon's nameless mother-in-law is suffering as they enter that house, and Jesus goes to see her. And when he's there, he does not even utter a word. Not a word. And he merely touches her, and she bounces right up, healed and restored to full health, and gets herself to that kitchen right away to start serving. Now, I don't know about the rest of you, but my immediate reaction was, wait, what? What is that about? She is bedridden with a fever, and the first thing she does when she is well is hop right to that kitchen and serve the men of the house? Now, here is a woman who has suffered from a fever that was bad enough to keep her in bed. When we all know most women can battle a slight little fever, right? And we carry on with our day. But this is bad enough for her that she is in bed. And the first thing that she does when it's gone is jump up and start cooking. Then I began to think, okay, just calm yourself down. Put aside your distaste for anything that even smells like misogyny and think. What was she really doing? What's really going on here? Did she see her place in her son-in-law's home as servant and chef? Was she merely fulfilling her obligations of the house? Well, maybe. But maybe there's something else too. Maybe she's simply grateful. This is her way of showing gratitude. She was showing her thankfulness to this stranger in her home, this man who simply touched her hand and got her out of bed immediately, who had cured her of her fever instantaneously. Maybe this is the way she shows gratitude. Because he said nothing to her. There was no prayer or special words. He just touched her. So imagine how that must have been for her. Suffering from a severe fever, and then instantaneously it was gone. Can you imagine what that would be like? Her response was in gratitude. And she showed that in the best way she could by preparing the Sabbath supper. It was the tradition. It was the tradition every Sabbath to have a meal for all those who gathered in the home. So she said, I'm going to do this. And ensuring that this healer in her home, this miracle man of God, was going to have a full stomach and a healthy meal. Simon's mother-in-law showed her gratitude to Jesus in the best way that she knew how. Because not only was she healed of her illness, but when we really think about healing in the whole, she's been restored to her family, right? This is about restoration. Like I said, we don't know if this was a life-threatening illness, but I can't imagine that a fever that would get you into bed in those days would be curable without some prayer. And now she's well. She's restored to her family. She's restored to her community. She's restored to her place in this family life, and she is so grateful. And she responds by doing what she does best. Restoration and healing It's so powerful, isn't it? It's so awe-inspiring. It's just so amazing. We hear about restoration and healing. My gosh. And it's so needed. It's so needed today. It's so needed in us. It's so needed in our world. This isn't my regular gig, as you know. I am a parish priest in the sense of being ordained in the Diocese of Toronto, but I am the executive director of Flemington Park Ministry. Who has heard of Flemington Park Ministry? A few folks. Okay. Who has heard of FaithWorks? A few more. Okay. So Flemington Park Ministry is in the Diocese of Toronto, and we receive all of our funding through FaithWorks. So when you give to FaithWorks, you're giving to us. So thank you. I so appreciate it. Flemington Park, if you don't know where it is, Flemington Park is on the east side of Toronto, sort of in the southeast corner of Don Mills and Eglinton. And it is Toronto's most diverse neighborhood. Some have even said it's the most diverse neighborhood in all of Canada. And also one of its most underserviced. You're very underserviced in Flemington Park, and its residents, well, it's among the city's most poor as well. Most folks live at or below the poverty line and simply struggle each and every day to make ends meet. Restoration and healing, wholeness to their human dignity, and a sense of belonging. These are rare gifts in the neighborhood I work, but we strive for them each and every day. Some days we are way more successful than others. We have helped women get out of abusive situations. We have helped refugees and new immigrants get settled in their new country and get them connected to agencies and programs that can set them up for a solid future in Canada. We provide clothing and training and counseling and food. Lots and lots and lots of food. We have hot meals every single day and a community meal once a month. But mostly we provide community. We want to break that barrier of isolation because, friends, as you know, whether you live in Flemington Park or Forest Hill, isolation is an issue for all of us. And we want our friends and neighbors to feel connected, that they belong, that they matter. And we don't work on physical healing like Jesus, but we want to heal and restore human dignity and be a refuge to the brokenhearted as well as the hungry. Now we're getting ready to embark on an urban farming project that we will see locally grown produce get into the homes of who need it most. We're calling it the Common Table, and we are so excited about this idea. But the whole thing is all in the hopes that it will bring more healing and more restoration and reach more people in our city who need to feel that healing and restored, and also fill their hunger. We are so blessed at Flemington Park Ministry to be able to witness to this. We get to see it. We get to see healing and restoration right before our eyes, and we get to hear about it all the time. From my first day there, I hear the stories of healing and restoration, of gratitude and thanksgiving. Some days it makes me weep, and some days it makes me jump for joy. I just get filled with my heart with these stories. One of the gentlemen who I first met, his name is Asgar, and Asgar is 82, and Asgar visits our drop-in center every single day. He's from Iran, and he is here sponsored by his son, who's now unable to work. So their life situation is a little precarious at best. And because he's sponsored by his son, he is not eligible for any government programs or assistance of any kind. So he really relies on us and the generosity of others. But the first time that I met him, he says, "We are his family." He said to me that first day in his very broken English, "I have not much of food, not much of clothes, not much of money, but I have you, and I have God. You are my new sister, and I thanks God. I thanks God that I can come here every day to see my family and to eat with you. Thanks God. Asgar comes every day, and he has lunch with us. He has coffee. He reads the Quran during our worship, and he packs up a little to-go meal for his wife who's immobile, and comes back the next day with that same smile on his face. So all in all, I have a pretty cool job. I really love it. I'm grateful to be a part of Jesus' healing and restoration business, man. It's awesome. And it's just so great to be a part of the sharing of his love, because that's what God's all about, right? What does this all mean to you? Good people of Transfiguration Church, what does this mean for you? I think that this is as good a time as any. As Jesus followers and fellow sojourners on the road, this is a good time to think about our own, your own healing and restoration. How have you been healed and restored in this journey with Jesus? What has been healed and restored in your life? What's changed for you? Was it an illness like Simon's mother-in-law? Or was it more like Asgar, being restored to community and a sense of self, a sense of belonging, a sense of wholeness? And where have we seen God at work healing and restoring others? Because we see it. If our eyes are open, we will see it. So where have you seen it? Have you seen it in our communities, in the city? Have you seen it in your own family? Have you seen it in your church? Have you seen it here? Healing and restoration. The thing is that this is what God does. And God does it all the time, right before our eyes. Healing and restoration is God's action of bringing us closer to Him and to one another. And it's just a spectacular act of love. And there can be no better response than to simply thank God for doing what God does best. Because maybe it'll just make you jump to your feet in action. So when you leave this place today, set out to uncover all the ways in which God has restored you and healed you. You yourself, or around you, in you, and those you love. Just take a look and see what you see. And give thanks to God for the beautiful creature that He has formed you to be, and continue to see His healing and restoration for you from now on too, because it's an ongoing action in you. And not only you, but for all of God's people, for all of God's world. Witness to it, see it, and give thanks to it. Thanks be to God. Amen.